What's up, guys? Welcome back. And today I'm going to answer your questions on cooking with my pro chef tips. So let's get into this. Great disciple wanted to be able to cook some more grilled fish and pan fried fish for his wife, and also ask how to cook a lobster. So basically, when you're pan cooking any fish, you want to get your pan nice and hot, season the fish, a little bit of oil. Once the pan's hot, put the fish in skin side down first, and then as the fish is cooking, you'll see from the skin side going up the flesh that basically it will start going white where the fish is cooking. Once it's like 3/4 of the way up the fish, you then want to flip it over to for the last kind of minute or two, and that's it, you're done. You should end up with a nice bit of crispy skin on the fish, and the fish should be cooked all the way through. Unless you're cooking salmon, which you want to leave it a little bit pink, but it's all about getting the pan nice and hot. And the other thing you want to do is just watch the heat and control the heat, because if you have it up too high and it starts smoking, the pan starts smoking, you could end up burning the skin. So it's all about controlling the temperature. When it comes to grilling fish, exactly the same principle really, except for this time you'll be putting it onto a cold tray. So you want to oil and season the fish, or put a bit of butter on the skin of the fish, and you'll be cooking it with the skin side up against the grill. Now the only thing with grilling the fish is that you want to watch the heat that's coming from the grill, so you may have to move it down a shelf, but the same principle will apply to like pan cooking it. The only thing you might want to watch out for is that the fish can dry out a little bit easier when you're pan cooking it, because you haven't got any kind of fat in there other than what you've put on the fish itself. So that's what you want to watch. It's really easy to do. Like I said, it's just about controlling the heat and learning, and most of it will come by experience. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. Whereas cooking a lobster is a little bit different. The first thing you want to do is buy a lobster, and you want to buy it, and you've got to buy it live, because that is the best way to buy it. Buy it live. The first thing you need to do is that you've got to kill the lobster. Sounds a bit grim, but it's what you got to do. So running down the length of the body of a lobster is a line, and then another line will go horizontally across its head. Where those two lines meet, you need to get your knife and stab it right through the head. I know it sounds a bit gruesome, but that's what you got to do. You're not allowed to cook them from straight from being alive. Got my words mixed up then. So basically, then you need to get a pan of boiling water, and you can add lemon to this, wine to this, dill to this, bay leaves, whatever you want that you want to maybe help enhance the flavour. And then you'll literally get your lobster that's been killed, drop it into the pan of boiling water or boiling stock, whatever it is. And when you first get the lobster, it will be dark in colour. Once the lobster has been cooked, it will go nice and pink. Once it's pink, you need to take it out the pan and then drop it into a pan of cold ice water. And then once it's cold, you then need to take the claws off, take the body off of the head. You normally discard the head because you can't really eat anything from there, and you need to get all the meat out of the claws and out of the body. And that's pretty much it. The other thing he asked is how to do fried mozzarella and marinara sauce. Basically, marinara sauce is a tomato based sauce which is made with crushed tomatoes, normally plum tomatoes, that you would crush up. You would then heat a pan, a little bit of onion and a little bit of garlic, and then chuck in your tomatoes, and then leave to cook for like 20 to 30 minutes. Near the end of the cooking, a couple of minutes before the end, you can put in a little bit of basil or parsley or oregano. There are so many different recipes for it, but that's pretty much it. That is really it. It's really easy, and it can be eaten cold as well. The fried mozzarella, the easiest way to do fried mozzarella is to buy buffalo mozzarella, and then to buy the little bocconcini, which are little balls of mozzarella, and those little balls would make it really easier to cook. So what you need to do is get the little balls of mozzarella and then pane them. So you need to coat them in flour first, then into whisked egg, and then into breadcrumbs. And then once you've done that, you can either double pan them, where you take, once they've been breadcrumbed, you then dip them back into the egg and then back into the breadcrumbs, which gives you an extra coating of breadcrumbs on it, so make them a little bit bigger. And then you just need to deep fry them, and deep fry them until golden brown, and that's pretty much it. So easy, so easy. And then the other thing, the last thing he asked, is how to do chicken parmesan. Now, chicken parmesan is not something that I do a lot of, but basically you want to get a piece of chicken, chicken breast, take the skin off, and then you want to cut the chicken in half through the width of it, so it opens up, so you've got like a butterfly piece of chicken. Cut that piece of chicken in half, so you've got two halves, and then pan it again, so into flour, into eggs, and then into breadcrumb. Then you want to get a hot pan with a little piece of oil in it, and then once it's hot, drop the chicken into the hot oil and cook for 3 to 4 minutes on one side, and then the same on the other side until golden brown. And that's pretty much it. And then what you want to do is to top each piece of chicken with a little bit of tomato sauce, some mozzarella, and then some grated parmesan on top. Bake it in the oven, 10 to 15 minutes. You're done, and that's pretty much it. Another question is from Dude Jerry 1980, which asked about grilling in general and a nice chicken dish. Well, grilling in general, like I just said, it's all about controlling the heat, and it really depends on what you're cooking. Because if you're cooking a bit of steak that's really thick, you're going to have to cook it really slow, which means putting down the lower part of the grill. If you're cooking a bit of fish, you'd want to start on the top part of the grill, like I said before, because it's a little bit thinner. But if you're cooking something like sausages, then again, you'd want to oil the sausages, put them under the top of the grill to start getting a nice bit of colour on them, and then move them down lower, so you haven't got the intensity of the heat, so you can cook it all the way through. That's pretty much it. With grilling, it's all about controlling the temperature. That's all it is with grilling. It's all about controlling the temperature and realising what it is that you're cooking, because if you're cooking something thicker, it's going to take a hell of a lot longer. And a nice chicken dish. Basically, there's so many chicken dishes out there. I don't think I could even start to cover all chicken dishes. Chicken is so versatile, and there's so much you can do with it. We've got a nice chicken dish at the moment, which is chicken thighs, which are cooked in garlic and thyme, with a wild garlic sauce, wild mushrooms, and asparagus. Now, I could go into more detail on this, and maybe if you want me to, I can do that in another video, but I really want to answer everyone's questions. It's a really nice dish. It's something I've got on our pub at the moment, and we sell so much of it. Shane 0085 asked, what is a good carbonara recipe? Now, carbonara has been changed so many times over the years, but the traditional recipe for carbonara is that you would cook your pasta, whatever it's spaghetti or linguine, in a pan of water until al dente, and then you drain off the pasta out of the water, but keep some of the water back in reserve. Then in the meantime, what you do is you get some pancetta, dice it up, fry the pancetta until crispy. Once it's crisped up, you then put in some garlic, and then you'd leave the garlic in there just to give the flavour to the pancetta, and then you take the garlic out. And then in the meantime, you'll get some eggs, or egg yolks should I say, and whisk them up with some parmesan cheese, grated parmesan cheese. So then what you'd do is you would add your spaghetti or linguine, whatever your pasta is, back into the pan with the pancetta, and then you'd want to turn the heat down because you want the pasta to stick, and then you need to add the egg yolks and parmesan mix into the pasta, and then you need to keep lifting and tossing the pasta up. You need to be really careful, because if you don't do the lifting and the tossing of the pasta, you end up scrambling your eggs, and you've got scrambled eggs with spaghetti, which is not going to be very nice. And that is pretty much it, really, for carbonara. Obviously, there are other ways of doing it. You can add a little bit of cream to it, which is not a traditional way of doing it, but so you could do it slightly different. So you'd start off with your onion and garlic and pancetta, keep the garlic in this time, then put in a touch of wine, a touch of cream. You'd bring it to the boil. Once it's been boiled, you then chuck in your pasta, and then at the last minute you chuck in your egg yolk mix. It's a similar way. It makes it a little bit more saucy. And I forgot to say, in the traditional version of doing the carbonara, you would add a little bit of the water that you had reserved from the pasta to help give more of a sauce to the pasta. And that's pretty much it for a carbonara. Really nice dish. I love carbonara. It's one of my favourite pastas, actually. Boogie Forever wanted to know what a good set of knives is, and also asked what my specialities are. And what else did he say? He also said what inspired me, what my influence is in my cooking. Now, a good set of knives is really hard, because there are so many good makes like Sabatier, Gustav, you've got Globals. There's loads of Japanese knives, which I can't remember the names of off the top of my head. But knives all comes down to personal preference. Now, me being a chef, I am not going to go out and buy some knives from a supermarket or for some like crappy, little shop. I always get my knives through like big companies like Nisbets, or there's a couple of catering places down the road from me which I go and get my knives from. I don't normally buy my knives in a set either, or buy my knives individually, which can cost, a cook's knife, like a 12-inch cook's knife, can be anything from like 50, 60 quid, 70 quid, 80 quid. It really down to personal choice. And the way to see if a knife is really good is to pick the knife up and hold it on one finger so it balances on So your finger would be on the blade but near the handle, and it should balance perfectly. That's the way of getting a good set of knives, is to feel the balance of it. And spending that little bit more money, honestly, is definitely worth it, because you buy cheap knives, they just end up with the actual blade getting ruined, or the blade will end up getting chips out of it where the metal isn't very good. So it's definitely worth spending the extra bit of money. My specialities, I don't have any specialities. I literally throw my hand at anything. I can do anything. I can do pastry, I can do sauce, I can do veg, I can do starters, I can do pretty much anything, and that's what I like doing. I like to have this broad spectrum. What influenced me in my cooking? A lot of good chefs. I really like Gordon Ramsay. James Martin is another good chef. Basically, a lot of influences come from the people that I've worked with and the programs that are on telly, like Great British Chefs. I love watching that. The fine dining side of it, I think, is the stuff they do is just mind-blowing, and that kind of stuff is what influenced me. So 01 Raz asked, why do my burgers fall apart when he makes burgers? Probably because you're buying cheap mince, I would say. You need to buy fresh mince. Doesn't matter if it's minced lamb or minced beef, but you need fresh mince. Now, when I do burgers, I don't put anything in them other than salt and pepper, maybe a little bit of garlic, and that is it. You don't need egg, you do not need breadcrumbs, you don't need anything. And basically, once you get your burger mince, you need to season it, touch of oil, your garlic in there, a little bit of herb if you want some herbs in there. It's up to you, but it's all about the mixing. Do not overwork the meat, because if you overwork the meat, you'll end up with tough meat. That's all there is to it. Now, I could go on with some more questions, but this video's already gone on for 10 minutes. If you've got any more questions for me on my Pro Chef tips, then leave it in the comments below. And any questions that I have not answered in this video, I will answer in the next episode of this. I've got something I want to keep going, so if you've got any more questions, leave it in the comments. And thanks for all your questions, and I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.
All mission objectives met. Prep for evac.
They got what was coming.